Ms. Ostrowski, if you could please call the roll.
Mr. Kozire,
Present.
Mrs. Greiner,
Present.
And a brief note to the public and anyone watching the stream, Mr. Tripp is here, but he's remote, so I'm operating as the meeting de facto president just for now. But if you all join me, stand up for a moment of silence and then the pledge. Pledge. I pledge allegiance Alrighty. So our first measure of business is the approval of our agenda. Is there a motion?
I move approval of our agenda as presented.
I will second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion? Because there's none. If I could get approval just by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign? Okay, awesome. And the agenda is so approved. Next up is our measure for the approval of minutes. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes from the work session and regular business meetings of September 23rd, 2025, as presented.
I will second.
All right, a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing as there's none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Same sign for no. All right, and our minutes stand as approved. Next up is our public participation. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board regarding any agenda items or other matters of concern. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to participate? All right. Seeing as there's none, we will move on next to our superintendent's report. Dr. Murillo.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. At this time, I'd like to invite Dr. Matthews to the podium. This evening, we will be presenting for the board our fall 2025 NWEA MAP assessment scores. It's always a great time for us to see our starting point, and then in really, I think it's May, we begin to look at, or June, the how far our students have grown and increased in the proficiency levels. So, Dr. Matthews, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Hello, and good evening.
Good evening.
It is my pleasure to present our baseline data for 2025-26 fall review. There we go. Just a reminder of the NWEA MAP. It is administered 3 times per year in math and science. New this year, as a reminder, we are in 1st through 11th grade because we are required to meet state objectives. NWEA MAP is not a state objective for kindergarten. This is 1st through 11th grade. And then as a reminder for science, we assess 5th through 11th grades to align with the ISAS assessment. 5th grade is the first year that we assess there, and it helps us to get predictive. It really does provide a nice roadmap for teachers and administrators at the individual student level, the classroom level, a grade level, looking at schools, and then across the district to determine the health of our curriculum and education, and as well as identifying students who may be at risk or who may need. But we measure overall performance as well as growth to see if we are meeting them all. As a reminder, this aligns directly with District Strategic Goal 1, which is academic achievement, and we have 3 separate metrics for this goal. We will only be looking at the first metric tonight because we do not have growth data yet. That metric is students will score in the average, high average, or high band on MAP, math, reading, and science. And for this year, our stretch goal is 65% of those top bands. I did put that visual for you again to remind you why it's a stretch goal, because this is an evenly distributed assessment. So 20% of all students who are assessed will be in the red band, 20% in the orange band, yellow, green. So when you look at those top 3 bands, across the nation, every student assessed, there will be 60% of bands. We really believe we can get 65% of our students here. We'll address the growth goals in our future. So I will begin with our baseline for goal 1, looking in each of our 3 areas just to give you that snapshot of where we are starting the year. And you can see we are at 60.11% in those top 3 bands in the area of math, 59.7% in reading, just under 60% in science. So within 5 to 6% in all 3 areas of our goal for the year. We'll look first at our math, and we are looking at the historical data in a little different way than usual, and looking at just the fall data points beginning in fall of 2020. That was intentional to really take a look at where we were right after the pandemic and kind of where our journey has been as we started each year since then. So taking a look at that, in 2020, we started our year at 55.91% of our students in those top 3 bands in the area of mathematics. We were really able to maintain similar starts in 2021 and 2022, but we did start seeing that drop in 23 and 24. So it's very exciting to see after some of those long-term effects and instructional gaps from that pandemic, we have a stronger start this year than we have ever had before at 60.11%. I also want to note that without kindergarten in there, we are still at our strongest start, and kindergarten is typically one of our highest performing levels. So that is really exciting to see that 1st through 11th we were able to get that spike. Looking at the performance level by grade, again, 1st through 11th grade across the bottom and then district average all the way to the right there, we range from 51.88% in those top 3 bands, that's at 2nd grade, all the way to 68.24% in 9th grade. Is not far behind there, so very exciting. Those higher achievement levels there. We do know that even with math, in 2nd grade, we see that drop as students transition from that K2 assessment to the 2-5 assessment, where it is not read to them. That does affect their mathematics too, with the problem solving. Also looking at that, we continue to see that largest decrease in cohort 2nd grade as well, but we have recovered nicely there each year. I have all the confidence that we will again this year. When we look at our performance by student groups, these are our student groups that have 20 or more students, which is how the state of Iowa measures those for our performance profiles as well. Again, across the bottom, we have all students. We have our English language students with IEP. And then from there, we have some of our racial and ethnic groups, Asian, Black, Hispanic, Native American, White, and then our low SES group. Here we have continued to see our ELL and IEP group scoring the lowest. Again, as a reminder, once these students in these groups are deemed proficient, they are no longer part of those. So it's not a surprise that we see those a little bit lower, but we fully recognize the need to support all students. They're making adequate growth, and our goal truly is to exit them from these, get them out of those groups. We'll continue to use our MTSS processes to provide additional support to all students who are not proficient, regardless of their students. Next, we'll look at our reading data in the same way. Again, looking at that historical data starting with fall 2020. This tells a little bit of a different story where we started to see that decline in reading skills very early on following the pandemic. Saw some pretty steady decreases, very slight each fall since then. But again, starting this year, we are at we started at 62.97 in 2020. We have almost recovered now. We're at that 59.7. We are on the upward trend, going on the right trajectory there. Again, looking at the proficiency or performance levels by grade, 2nd grade is once again our lowest performing grade level. We definitely see a larger drop in the reading area with that independent assessment for the very first time. They are at 45.84% for this fall screening window as their baseline. This is within 1% of where we started last year, and we recovered very nicely. So nothing to be overly concerned about there. A highlight again is 9th grade there at 74.16%. Really pleased to see those 9th graders come to high school prepared and starting the year strong. Again, looking by student group, we do see our ELL and IE student groups continuing to be the lowest here. A big focus in both reading and math is to align our intervention with our core instruction. We've actually been engaging in learning walks this fall already, and it was great. We saw this in action, where students who had been pre-exposed to core instruction in their intervention time had access and entry points in their general education classroom because they were already familiar with some of the. It really increased their confidence and their ability to participate and engage in grade level materials. So we're excited to see the work that's happening in aligning all of those supports. And now we will look at science in a similar manner. You will see that this data point doesn't begin until fall of 2021. That is the first time we administered science map in the fall. This is where we've had the least amount of variance in science performance. In 2001, we did have our strongest start to the year at 63.5%. We'll note we are starting this year at just under 60%, and this is the one area where we have not seen that. I'll talk to you about some next steps we have to address that. Again, looking at grade level, we have the least amount of variance in performance by grade level in the area of science as well. Here we ranged from 52.71% at 11th grade to once again, 9th grade being our standout highest performer. 66% of those students were in those top 3 bands. Really, I think a great testament to the wonderful work and foundation that's been established for those students and all of the work that's been done around Goal 3 with supporting them. So very, very proud of all the hard work of all of the team members who contributed to that and those students who are rising to the occasion. When we look at performance by student groups, again, you do notice ELL and IEP student groups the lowest, and you might even notice ELL is lower here than math. And we know that that academic vocabulary in science, when you're still acquiring general conversational skills and communication, is even more challenging. We do work to support students in having access to their core content in all areas in their home languages, but that takes a little bit more time to acquire that academic content vocabulary and then apply it. Now I will discuss some next steps in response to our baseline data from this fall. This first step has been the same, and it is really because that is our work. We continue to seek ways to align professional learning and adjust instruction based on data. We are constantly reviewing student achievement data, implementation data, and making sure that everybody has the support they need, whether they're teachers, administrators, students, to continue to. It is an ongoing process for MTSS and support. Our schools are always looking at student data and data. So really pleased with the work that we're doing there, and we know we just need to continue presenting at high levels. I wanted to talk a little bit about each of the content areas and work that we have going on here this year. For literacy, we are going to be utilizing funds and support through the Comprehensive Literacy State Development Grant. Dr. Murillo mentioned that in the work session. We are getting more and more information trickling through with that. This is really a planning year for that grant. So we applied for funds to be able to really have a district leadership team around the area of literacy, working with an outside consultant to provide some professional learning, to really do an audit of our resources, our implementation, our assessments, our screeners, to make sure that all of our work is aligning and to make recommendations for us going forward. We're really excited about that work and excited to learn more about it. In the area of math, again, we are continuing to focus on core. We have made a lot of great progress over the years. It's been very steady progress. It's been amazing. We finished elementary math learning walks this week, and the teachers are just beaming. They say that time students are hitting 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. We can just see the foundation has been laid, and we know that we're in a really great place. So we're going to continue that work, and then again, making sure that our additional supports and investment are aligned to that core. And then we are piloting new resources for our 6th through 12th grade mathematics aligned with our curriculum options. We have some secondary teachers who are trying some new resources, and they will make some recommendations for us for the future. In the area of science, last spring when I shared our update with you, I referenced some new state standards. So we were able to get all of our curriculum maps updated in response to those revised state standards. We were able to work with teachers, get some input from them. Some of it did require shifting things from different grade levels, so being really there are no gaps and students won't miss anything. as standards change grade levels. And then I'm also really proud of the fact, going back to data-driven decisions, is that we really dug into the ISASP assessments and looked at the different domains by each of the grade bands. So we've developed some professional learning and some support around the different domains that have the areas for most growth at elementary, at middle school, and at high school. And they were actually different for each of those levels. Could really hone into those and develop a plan to support teachers. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions you have about our basic data.
I don't really have a question. I want to commend you for giving us ninth grade back. Every year, it was like the cringe when we had to see the ninth grade and the scores and what it was going to be. And I know you made it a goal and your team made it a goal to implement new strategies and improvements in how the ninth graders approached high school. And I thank you.
They're working very hard.
When you mention specific domains, what does that mean?
So yes, I actually have, so for elementary, earth science was the domain where we have the most room for improvement. So we're focusing in on how we can, or we're addressing those standards with the earth science domain. In middle school, it was life science. That was the area that had the most opportunity for growth and improvement. And then for high school, it's our physical science.
Thank you. I just didn't know what that word meant in
Absolutely.
education, so thank you.
Thank you.
I just have a brief question because I know we changed the format a little bit, going from fall to fall, which I do appreciate that. I think that's great. Would it be possible to see the spring to fall transition? Because I know sometimes there's a bit of a falling off. Kids have summer break, and if they're not involved in program our summer programs, sometimes there might be a bit of a drop. Is it possible to get that too? Any other questions?
Thank you.
And Ms. Ostrowski is coming to the podium for our next presentation. And before we switch, I do want to congratulate the teachers for the great work that they're doing in the classrooms. I mean, coming from the pandemic and then watching the work that they're doing, and especially seeing, we know Dr. Matthews didn't quite mention even the transition and the renorming when they go into the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade assessment is a little tougher. It is it's commendable that they've embraced the resources and the curriculum, and that we're continuing to provide as much support as we can. The teachers are really collaborating and using their Monday afternoons to talk through and work through together. And so the board should be, and I know I am, very proud of the teaching staff that we have and the leadership. That's where the rubber meets the road. It's not about me, and it's not about the staff here at the ESC building, even though we should be great supports to the school. They do the work. They do the heavy lifting. So very, very proud. When I saw this data, I was like, oh my goodness, especially ninth grade. Melissa and I were looking at it. We were looking at it again like, okay, we want to make sure it's factual right there. But yeah, so congratulations, Melissa, even for your secondary schools. So, and now we have Ms. Ostrowski. So this evening, we wanted to present to the board the revenue purpose statement ballot measures and the work that we're going to do to roll out the informational campaign. The board approved to have that put on the ballot. We really wanted to kind of share this with the board tonight. Ms. Ostrowski is going to talk about our strategies. This is something that is required by the state that we have this approved every so often. We do have until 2031 for the approval to happen, but we really felt like it would be nice to go ahead and get out and get the approval done. So Ms. Ostrowski, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Murillo. And I really appreciate the opportunity to share information about how we can continue our tradition of really investing in our beautiful facilities that are modern, efficient, and really meet the standard of high quality learning for our students and our community. As Dr. Murillo mentioned, we do have our upcoming school election, and during that election, our district resident voters will have an opportunity to say, to give us approval to continue to use the SAVE and PEPAL dollars. Those are the dollars received not only from property tax revenue, but also that statewide penny for the full range of projects and uses that the Iowa Code allows. And I think the board previously was very wise in adopting every allowable use in our revenue purpose statement, so that would give us the most flexibility for how we can spend these dollars to invest in our community schools. I thought I would just give a little bit of an overview of how we've utilized those funds in the past several years and the benefits of that. You can see on here, we have been really methodically implementing that 5-year facility master plan. And in that were things like, in the upper left, there's a this week picture of the TJ Auditorium kind of in process. We have our middle school lab classrooms, the outdoor classroom at Abraham Lincoln, some of the really pride-filled safety window glass coverings there at the TJAC, some new carpet in the Rue office area, the track at AL, and that beautiful auditorium renovation that showcases our fine arts there at Abraham Lincoln. Thought I would share a few more, not only those, kind of wow moments, but there's some behind the scenes and some others that aren't quite so exciting, but secure and safe schools with our security cameras and our security entrance measures, carpeting, furnishings in our classrooms, and that's on a rotating schedule. So we're never, so that our plan is that we're always looking after our needs on a very regular schedule. Maintaining concrete and roofing and painting and all of those electrical and HVA systems, again, that are behind the walls, but keep our buildings efficiently running. And then other purposes that we can use the funds for are to purchase large equipment, our Chromebooks, and other classroom technology. On the ballot measure, I mentioned it was a yes or a no vote, and a yes vote affirms that the district can continue to use the SAVE funds as it has been in the past. And a no vote does not lower taxes or eliminate the sales tax, but it could limit the district's ability to respond to future facility needs. For our informational campaign, our role in the Council Plus Schools is to provide information and to encourage people to get out and vote during the election. We will not be involved in any express advocacy for or against the measure. We are providing information on what a yes vote would do for the district and what a no vote would mean. Some of the ways that we're going to continue to make sure our community knows what it is the ballot measure is about is through an article in our Achieve magazine, which will arrive before the election. We already have a website. It's on the school election page, and it provides information and great links, by the way, to absentee ballot forms, voter registration if they're new to the community or have moved. It provides information about where your polling location might be. We're going to be in communication with our staff so that they can be informed and be also informational providers for our community, similarly with parents, so that they know. And we will use our social media and our news media to provide that ongoing information. And again, the goal is to make sure people are aware of what the ballot measure is and encourage them to go and cast their ballot. I will leave at this, really the bottom line for this, because it is a little confusing. What's a revenue purpose statement and why are we voting on it? It really just gives the voters of our community an opportunity to affirm how we'll use the local statewide sales tax and the physical plant and equipment levy to protect the investment in our schools, utilize the $14 to $15 million per year that the state provides for us for those purposes, and then continuing to maintain that those buildings so that they are in the kind of shape and state of repair that we expect as a community for our kids and our staff who really reside in those every day. With that, I will entertain any questions and be glad to have a discussion.
So, I mean, the thing that kind of reinforces is what you were saying is regardless of whether there's a yes or no vote, those dollars are going to be, those statewide dollars are already allocated. This is basically us the people deciding whether we're going to continue to enroll in those dollars that are already available to us, or that that are available at the state level, but will then be available.
We will
to us.
receive them either way. They will allocate them to us on a per pupil basis.
Mhm.
And, but how you can use the funds is what the community is affirming.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for taking my word salad
Yes,
and making
no.
it much.
And you proved my point. I mean, it just
Yeah.
really is kind of hard to
Mhm.
explain. And so we're trying to make it super, super simple and clear so that people know what they're voting on and can vote how they prefer.
Yeah, so we'll continue to receive the saved money, but is there a default then? A state code that says this is what you can only use the money for if you don't approve your revenue purpose statement for the next election cycle?
That's correct. The one thing that would be first is if you have bonds that you need to pay, you would have to use all of your saved dollars to pay down your bond. So you would not be able to use them for the facility improvements that we've been doing. The positive for us is we're down to 2 bonds and we'll be paid off in 2.5 years. So we'll be debt-free. But the place we want to be is that the community recognizes how we use that 1 cent penny. And that they also understand it's not increasing their taxes, but they'll allow us to continue to work through the cycle of the HVAC system, any electrical or plumbing, roofing, concrete work, which we all know how much concrete costs, and also on the inside, repairing and getting those things. Without that, we could not be doing some of the work that we've been doing, and touching every area of our district as possible. So it is really critical that we get that vote so we can.
Because it is the saved money that makes up the majority of that $14 to $15 million, because our PEPAL money, we bring in $1.5 million a year. So it's not, to not approve the revenue purpose statement would really hinder us from being able to make our improvements in our buildings, because it's the save money that basically allows us to make those improvements and keep those maintenance items moving forward in our buildings, because PEPAL just doesn't cut it.
It doesn't. There's not enough dollars there.
Right.
The other place that really is concerning is because we have really nice facilities compared to other school districts. If we would lose the option to be able to use those, then we defer maintenance, which means then down the road, we eventually have to pass a bond to then get our schools back up to the level. So it's really important that there's 2 things. It doesn't raise your tax, and it continues. If you live around a school especially, you want that school to have a great appearance on the outside and a nice appearance on the inside. And we want our students to go in and feel really proud of the learning environment. We want our teachers to feel proud of where they work. And so that's why it's really important, because we don't want to defer maintenance.
No.
And then be looking, can we pass a bond down the road for 20 or 30 million like we've seen?
Yeah.
You used the words about 2031. Are we okay until 2031, and then this would take effect in 2031?
But we have multiple election cycles before 2031, so we have additional opportunities if it doesn't make it past the goal this election cycle. We have additional time. And so I think it's a wise thing that we're moving forward early so that it gives us more opportunities should the taxpayers not understand what's going on. Again, it's not the, our property taxes don't bring in that much. It's that 1 cent sales tax that is collected throughout the state. So, I mean, it's people in Dubuque and Des Moines and Sioux City and Glenwood and all of the communities that are collecting that additional penny that help per student population. So I mean, it definitely is a educational push, because it's not PEPAL, it's not property taxes where we get the funding. It's from the state penny. from the sales tax that we get the lion's share of our money to make school improvements, which doesn't make us have to take out bonds.
So with the approval of this,
Right.
what does
Raise-
extend our timeline to?
2051.
Yeah,
2051, okay.
long time.
I do want to speak a little to our facilities. I know that I probably maybe annoy Dr. Murillo a little bit when I go to another facility or when I go to any of our games or our events, and I do overhear public from other towns mention how great our facilities are. And I always make sure to text Dr. Murillo so that then she can spread that with the rest of our staff. And Mr. Tripp and I go to a lot of sporting events, and our facilities really are top notch. They look so professional. They are upkept so well, and it's just so apparent that our district does take these funds and use them very extremely wisely. I mean, we talk about some of the savings that Mr. Stile finds in some of our improvements, and I just want to affirm to the public that we are taking this very seriously, and our facilities are top-notch.
I can even say, having been in the old AL auditorium for a few years and then being able to have a child reap the rewards kind of towards the end there, but it's a different, even the kids have a different demeanor. It's their pride. They are proud to be in a production on that stage. I can say from being up on the tracks that I go walk, I'm seeing more traffic. I see way more traffic, and the surface is so much lovelier. So that's really wonderful to see the public out also being able to use those facilities.
Definitely.
Yep, and that concludes the superintendent's report. All right, so next we have 3 resolutions. Our first resolution is the SBRC MSA authority request for EL excess costs. Is there a motion?
I move that the board approves the district's administration authorized to submit a request to the SBRC for modified supplemental amount of $140,497.58 due to excess costs of providing the EL program in the 24-25 school year.
Second?
Got a motion and a digital second. Is there any discussion on this topic? Do we get a brief explanation as far as our authority request?
Yes. Each year, according to the state, our ELL and our special education, if we service or spend dollars to meet the needs of our students, and our ELL population has been growing, it allows us that ability to request the additional funding if we overspend. And so this is the overage that we had for meeting the needs of our students that are in the ELL student group, and continuing to work with that, because you may start, let's say we may start with like a 12% ELL population, but by the time we get to the end of the year, we may be at 16% with the with the enrollment in and out in the mobility, or we have different populations that enroll in our school that we need to find interpreters or the staff to work with because of the labor we did not have before. So there's multiple reasons that this will continue to grow, and as we continue to become more diverse, I could see it being an area that we'll continue to have to work through to really manage the budget, but yet, since we have this opportunity, meet the needs of the students, and then
And it's very much like our students that have IEPs. We know that over the last few years, we always ask for additional spending authority and the money for our students that have IEPs. Last year, it was $2.45 million. This year, it's $3 million. So it's money that we have to spend for our students. And it's just a matter of, we don't know
Yeah.
what they're going to need all the time until we find out.
Right.
Any other discussion? Ms. Ostrowski, if you could please call the roll.
Ms. Myers?
Yes.
Dr. Rosello?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp? Yes. Mr. Kozire?
Yes.
Ms. Hardeman?
Yes.
Mrs. Griner?
Yes.
And the motion is approved. All right. Our second resolution is for the repair of the Wickersham parking lot lighting. Is there a motion?
I move that the board approves Echo Electrical Supply in the total bid amount $28,275 for the Wickersham parking lot lighting repair and replacement.
Second?
All right. Motion and a second. If since this was a fairly recent development, if we could possibly get a quick explanation.
We had a storm about 2 weeks ago. I believe that'd probably be the timeline, maybe 2.5 weeks. And the lightning hit stadium. It hit the stadium lights and plus our parking lot. You wouldn't know it. John keeps telling me the transitional lights that he's bringing in are there just so he was able to get the stadium lights completed, but our parking lot took a little longer to get the quotes and that, so that's why that's before the board, and it is a lightning.
So my question would be, why didn't our insurance cover it? I think the public would think that that would be a
Part of the
logical
deductible.
question.
I was gonna say.
John, I don't know if you want to speak to it or I can. There are certain things that we have a deductible for, and so we want to make sure that we don't make claims that are deductible then would continue to go up, and this would be under that threshold of the deductible.
So basically the same as your car insurance. If you can fix it for less than your deductible, you just fix it because you don't want to take the hit. Well, no.
All right. There's no other questions. Ms. Ostrowski, if you could please call the roll.
Ms. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp? Yes. Mr. Kozire?
Yes.
Ms. Hardeman?
Yes.
Mrs. Griner?
Yes.
Dr. Rosello?
Yes.
And the motion carries. All right. And our last resolution for the evening is for the delayed egress systems at Roosevelt, Rue, and College View. Is there a motion?
I move that the board approves Interconnects to install delayed egress systems at Roosevelt, Rue, and College View for the amount of $57,890.45 as presented.
I will second.
All right. Motion and a second. Dr. Merlo, what is our delayed egress system that we're
Yeah,
at?
I'm going to start, but John, I'd like you to come up and talk a little bit about working with the fire department and some things like that, so the board's aware of how much, it really is a safety, from a superintendent's spot, it's a safety feature and also something that our staff at these buildings really have requested, and we wanted. It is paid for through special education. It's a funding source. It is really a way that if we have students that want to elope from the building, we have a few, that we get a delay before they exit, which gives the staff, because at College View, you know how close the road is. At Roosevelt, you know how close the road is. At Rue, it's a little more in the neighborhood, but there's still roads that's close. And so imagine us not taking these steps once John went through all of the effort with the fire department and the different ones that looked at that. And if a student would get hit because we did not do our due diligence to make sure we did everything possible to delay, is really where we came down to how can we make this happen. So John, if you want to talk a little bit about what this delays look like at this level.
Yes, so there's a couple things that they go in with. So it's very similar to a medical facility, which is kind of how the state and fire department is kind of considering these particular doors. You have a crash bar. Well, we have to replace that crash bar with, like I said, they're really like a medical grade crash bar. Then you also have to have it tied into your fire alarm system. You also have to have for teachers and staff to be able to badge or disable the system when necessary. In addition to, you have to have, when our buildings go into a lockdown, typically our electronic doors or lock out. Well, we don't want students to be trapped in a room because we're in a certain situation. So with all of that, and we really did do our diligence, we really tried to drive this cost down. This is the best. Like Dr. Murillo said, really.
Do you see this being a need for any of our other buildings? I know, like, off the top of my head, I think of Hoover is very close to two fairly busy roads. Do we see a need for those in the future?
So we've worked with our specialists on that.
Okay.
Yes, so these are related specifically to specialized programs at these schools and the students with specific needs. And that's why special education funding is allowable, because it has to be pertaining to specific IEPs. It can't just be something we blanket leave to all schools. Because there's certain students in programs that have this need, then we can address it that way.
Are the students then in those programs always at those buildings?
Yes, the specialized programs are housed at
Yep,
those.
that
So
makes
our
perfect
autism
sense.
and
Gotcha. That makes perfect, thank you.
So when they transition then to a new school, so when they go from elementary school to middle school to high school, we have those safety features already at the middle school and high school with cameras that are at the entrances, but they don't necessarily have the delay in opening the doors. How will we accommodate those students once they transition?
we would have to monitor if that were a need in their new environment, and if proximity to street access and other areas pose that same safety risk.
So these doors, they're not the main school doors, they're doors that are close to those programs?
They're the classroom
Classrooms?
doors.
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
So classroom doors, right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Thinking exactly what you mentioned, Kern, Wilson, Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson, and those sorts of classrooms, there's not nearly as much of the proximity to streets. That makes sense that most. Any other questions?
Thank you, Dr.
I think-
Matthews.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Ostrowski, please call the roll.
Ms. Hardeman?
Yes.
Ms. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp? Mr. Kozire?
Yes,
Dr. Rosello?
Yes.
Mrs. Griner?
Yes.
And the motion carries. All right, and that concludes our resolutions. Before we wrap this meeting, we do have to vote to move into closed session as defined in our open meetings law, so that way we can either evaluate the professional competency of an individual whose performance is being considered, or for a move for closed session because of a real estate venture. Is there a motion?
it resolved that a closed session as provided in section 21.5, parent 1, parent I of the open meetings law be conducted to evaluate the professional competency of an individual whose performance is being considered to prevent needless and irreparable injury to that individual's reputation, and that the individual has requested a closed session.
I will second.
Motion and a second. And we don't need a vote. A roll
Yes,
call.
we need a roll call
We do
vote
need a roll
on a
call?
closed
Okay.
session, yes.
All right. Ms.
We'll
Ostrowski,
do it individual, right, separate.
if you could call the roll then, please, Ms. Ostrowski. Thank you.
Who was the second, please?
I was.
Thank you. Ms. Hardeman?
Yes.
Ms. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp? Yes. Mrs. Griner?
Yes.
Dr. Rosello?
Yes.
Mr. Kozire?
Yes,
All right, we will now move to closed session, and then we will adjourn from there.
we have the second closed session then also.
Oh,
We have to
do roll call
Right,
for that one too?
right,
Gotcha.
we do,
Okay.
because we've limited ourselves if we don't.
Yes, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you can do that.
I move that the board go into closed session to discuss the purchase or sale of particular real estate only where premature disclosure could be reasonably expected to increase the price the governmental body would have to pay for that property or reduce the price of governmental body received for that property. Iowa Code 30.5, parenthetic 1, parenthetic.
Second?
All right, motion and a second. If we can just go right into the roll call.
Mr. Tripp? Yes. Ms. Hardeman?
Yes.
Ms. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Kozire?
Yes.
Mrs. Griner?
Yes.
Dr. Rosello?
Yes.
All right, now we will move to closed session. Thank you all very much.